Cam Thomas shines as the Nets grab their third straight win in a row and could possibly make it four heading in to the 2026 calendar year. All that on the backs of a beautiful game by the Nets bench, and more specifically, Cam Thomas, who in his return off IR drops 30 points in 20 minutes, and his trade stock is now at an all-time high. Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Brooklyn Boys Show on a December 28th edition of the show. Welcome in, hit like, hit subscribe to continue to get our channel to grow. Get questions, comments, thoughts, reactions over in the chat. Those help us a tremendous amount. Continue to show your support, your love right there means so much. We already got a couple of you guys in the building, so hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and then head right to the comment section. Throw all your Brooklyn Nets thoughts there. If you notice the new background, on vacation in the great state of Maine, so this is what you might see over the next couple of episodes. Get used to it. But back in Brooklyn, 3 straight wins, the latest of which coming on Coach Jordy Fernandez's birthday, and obviously highlighted by a ridiculous game from Cam Thomas, who just goes berserk to have the Nets where they are heading into the new year. A quick peep at the schedule. We'll get back to this in a second, but you see all that losing in November, change to December. This team has gone crazy hot, only losing 2 games the entire month, and overall, everything has been much better for this Nets team. We'll break all that down and more right here on this episode, but this is right where I have to start. And usually I direct your eyes to the top. I'd say Michael Porter Jr., Yegor Gilman, maybe Nick Claxton, Noah Clowney. Those guys all played significant roles. But last night, it was the bench that monstered through the Minnesota Timberwolves to score 123 points on the road. 123-107 was the final there, and Cam Thomas going 9 of 15 from the field. You wonder where he was these last 2 months. It was getting better. And what does that mean? That just means that the trade stock is going up, 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 and it continues to climb. I made a joke on Twitter during the game: trade Cam Thomas before the flight back to Brooklyn leaves. And obviously, that's not what they were going to do, but that's the idea. You got to be scrambling if you're the Nets front office to take any and all callers on Cam Thomas, because let's be real. This guy isn't staying in Brooklyn past this season. This guy already has a terrible reputation from the front office. What he went out there and did last night, how impressive it was not for the Brooklyn Nets. It was for Cam Thomas's future, to try to escape to the bright lights of LA, to the bright lights of Golden State. It was to try to get to a much better situation than where he is now, in a situation that will likely set him up much better than Brooklyn potentially would for his next NBA contract that he is due for this coming off season. So don't think, Nets fans, that Cam Thomas goes into Minnesota, he balls out, and all of a sudden he is the answer. He comes in off injury, and oh my goodness, it's a revelation. We have this guy that teams so well with Michael Porter Jr., who also put in 27. They combined for 57 points. And is it the future of Brooklyn? No. No, it is not. Because if you remember back to how this offseason went, you have to put 2 and 2 together, even though Cam Thomas comes out with a bafflingly ridiculous performance. That doesn't change how Sean Marks treated him in the offseason. That doesn't change that it took as long as humanly possible this summer to get a deal done between these two teams. And still, when they finally did come together and pick something out, it was just the qualifying offer, which was on the table the entire time. So I think from both perspectives, the performance last night from Cam Thomas obviously puts his trade value as high as it's ever going to be. If you're the Nets, your sales pitch is, well, he was just up for 2 months and he's going to come back and do this immediately. What could he do down the stretch for your playoff team? Insert Clippers, insert desperate team. Maybe Milwaukee is somehow looking to get back in the mix in the East. They could be a suitor. And his contract is ridiculously low. I mean, I'm sure the Nets are willing to take on the $6 million hit if that's where the trade would come down to. So if you're Sean Marks, this is about as high as your package is going to get. You keep Cam Thomas around too long. Yes, you could start to form the idea of a bidding war between two teams, but here's the problem with both of those situations. For Cam Thomas, the first problem with a bidding war is that he's injury prone, right? Like, if this guy gets injured one more time, you're going to have absolutely no suitors. You're talking about a minimal recruiting pitch right now to teams that absolutely need him, absolutely need a number one scorer, and a guy that will shot chuck. Your sales pitch is out the window. He's gone. There's no future for Cam Thomas in this league if he gets injured one more time. So you don't want to wait around till February. And the second reason why waiting around just doesn't make much sense is because there's probably two, maybe three teams that have a loose temperature on where they are on Cam Thomas. I don't think there's any team that's like, let's gun for Cam Thomas at the deadline. This is the guy. After that, we're going on. I don't think there's that team in the NBA. And even if there was, you kind of have to remember how much of a diva this guy is. Sitting on the bench for the Nets when he was out, it looked like a kid trying to eat vegetables, someone who just did not want to be there. Cam Thomas will let you know his feelings when he has them. So, returning from the injury, and also the fact that he probably isn't just going to mesh perfectly in any inserted locker room, probably means that for Cam Thomas to find the perfect suitor, the deal is going to have to get done ASAP. So, Sean Marks, get on your high horse. Let's go. If you want anything, and I mean anything, for Cam Thomas, I would start taking phone calls this instant because how often is he going to go crazy like this, right? Like the hype is going to reach a peak and there is going to be a downside. And I understand that right now it's kind of tough to assess what a package would look like right now. We're not inside the NBA. We don't know how many teams are even attempting to make phone calls. There could just be absolutely zero suitors across the market, which is what some reporters have guessed is what's happening with Sean Marks, and they're frantically trying to deal him, but nobody wants the guy. That could be happening, or you could have a situation on your hands where the Nets are just trying to budge for that one more piece, and they have a team that's interested. And if that was the case, I don't know how much longer he can last on your team before you just give it and you're like, okay, we've had enough with this guy. The whole offseason debacle, the risk of an injury will get us nothing. And we know he doesn't want to be on this team anymore. Let's just get him out of here, disassociate, move on. We're the Brooklyn Nets. He's Cam Thomas, and just fork in the road, split our two separate ways. If I'm Sean Marks, that's probably where I'd lean. Again, depends what the package looks like, but these really aren't details we're going to get until way after the trade comes out. So very, very tough to just sort of guesstimate on, as the trade market only opened a week or so ago and it'll continue well into the first week of February. That's still all of January to figure out a deal. But again, time is of the essence here. Cam Thomas isn't a guy that you want to hold as long as humanly possible. Try and start a bidding war for the things I mentioned earlier. But let's get to the rest of this Nets team. We can hop back into Cam Thomas if you guys want in the chat. We got 35 of you guys in the building. It was just absolutely amazing to see across YouTube and Twitter. So if you are in the building, hit like and hit subscribe on the YouTube. Get right to the comments section to place questions, comments, thoughts, get your ideas out for us to react to. That would be awesome. So continue to get those in, as we already have a couple loaded up that we will react to in just a couple of minutes. Stay on sharp. An absolutely awesome game. Efficiency was the key heading into the season for him. How about 10 points in 17 minutes? Perfect from the field. And then tack on 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. I can't really think of a much better day Ron Sharp night. You get the rebounds, you get the assists, you're perfect from the field. No chances at free throws, which we know he sometimes has trouble with, and no stupid threes, which we know he has attempted to fit into his arsenal earlier in the season. And that's just, let me set the precedent here, not what he is or wants to be known for. He needs to stay in his lane. Don't shy away from going into the paint, but when you start seeing Day'Ron Sharp spray it from outside and it gets ugly, I mean, that three-point shooting percentage has to be in the low 20s at this point in the season. I haven't seen a stretch where he's consistently made buckets from the perimeter in his entire career, let alone this year. So good. No free throws, no three-pointers. This is a classic Day'Ron Sharp lane. Props to him. He's A+. Way to play your role. In 17 minutes, you did the absolute most you could. Danny Wolf right there with him. A very, very solid game. Look at the plus minus on both of those guys, plus 21 and plus 18. You look at the starters and you got minuses across the board, except a plus one for Yegor. You're talking about these guys coming in off the bench, playing 17 minutes and coming away with a plus 21 in the plus minus category. That is ridiculous, just showing the swings, the momentum shifts that the bench is causing right now for Brooklyn. And the rotation just seems to get deeper every night. Like, I don't know how it happens, but the rotation gets better and more consistent every single night. And you look up and down that bench, and outside of Jalen Wilson, who didn't even get in the game, everybody played 17 or more minutes. You are talking about a very, very solid and reliable rotation. Everybody with a plus 13 or higher. Cam Thomas, a plus 27 in 20 minutes. That is called being a difference maker. And the entire Nets bench played tremendously last night. You can't do it much better than they did. Traore got valuable minutes. Drake Powell got valuable minutes. Danny Wolf, you'll love to see it. Saraf's still working on his craft in the G League, and that's perfectly fine too. We don't need all five of these guys competing at once, especially not in that rookie year where they are, again, supposed to be continuing to develop. If the steps are taking a little while for Saraf, that is perfectly fine. And I think all Nets fans feel that same way. There is zero need to rush that development and get him up from the G League early. The bench, just crazy. Just crazy. One more thing I wanted to bring up, and this kind of coincides with Dayron. We'll get to Nick Claxton. Points in the paint. 66-46, a plus 20 favoring the Brooklyn Nets on points in the paint. But you'd think heading into this game it'd be the other way around because Minnesota has Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, and both of those guys were pretty much non-factors in this game. Like, it went off, but the rest of the T-Wolves roster was nowhere to be found. So you're talking about these two guys, and you'd think they'd be able to dominate in the paint. Gobert, obviously not known for his scoring abilities, but come on, I guess this is the height of Nick Claxton's career, and he's able to compete with the big 7+ footers at the NBA level, which I think shows you the progress he's been able to make. And then again, Day'Ron Sharpe is getting those buckets from the inside. So same sort of thought process. I guess it's probably not when Gobert's on the floor the entire time, but Brooklyn able to dominate in the paint against two high quality NBA level big men in Gobert and Reed, who are big, but Brooklyn was able to win on the inside. That is a massive, massive takeaway. I think that's something Jordy will stress now and stress into the future. You have to win when it matters most. Well, that's on the boards. That's getting second chance opportunities, and that all starts on the inside. So I think he's going to put a big emphasis on that now and further into the future. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Let's get into Nick Claxton. 31 minutes and 14.6 9 from the field. 0 problems with this game. Out of him, Michael Porter Jr., a double-double, 27, 10, and 4. 27. I mean, that just feels like a nightly occurrence for MPJ at this point, right? Like, if MPJ isn't coming up with 27 plus, you're like, what went wrong? I mean, that is just not a classic MPJ game. It is the expectation at this point. A guy who, coming in, we really did not know what the season would look like. I'm going to try and pull up his stats for Michael Porter Jr. Okay, he's averaging 25.8 on the season. But let's look at the individual game logs. 27, 28, 24 against Toronto, 28, and then 12. But 12 was against Milwaukee when everybody and their mother played the biggest blowout in franchise history. So, I mean, I'm not exactly mad at him for not stat padding there, but he's dropping 25 a night. That is very, very impressive out of Michael Porter Jr. Almost as many points in as many minutes played. But again, it was the bench that powered the Nets. They were the motor of this team. Their impact on the floor way outplayed the bench of the T-Wolves. And then one more thing, as a team stat, this is sort of where my eyes pop out. 20 of 21 from the free throw line. The only miss by the notoriously bad Nick Claxton at the line, because Cam Thomas was getting downhill. He was drawing fouls, getting so many and one opportunities at the line and cashing in on those. And then the rest of the team just follows suit and is hitting free throw after free throw to tally up to 95% on the evening. So whether it's this team continuing to get offensive rebounds, putting those up, and drawing fouls that way, it is getting better, getting much better, excuse me, for this Brooklyn Nets team. And that is the type of progress that you want to see. And that's the type of progress Jordy Fernandez is going to want to see from this team now and going forward as the Claxton trade stock continues to rise with another good game out of him. I've said this all along. I don't feel like it's the right fit to trade Nick Claxton at the deadline. Waiting for the offseason is probably the better move just because you can start a bidding war. You can see what the replacement options look like in free agency. We know you're not getting a true center back at the deadline if you get rid of Claxton. It's probably going to have to be a matching salary and a couple of picks. Look, at this point, the Nets aren't desperate for picks, right? You're talking about a very, very good player in this year's draft potentially moving up, which is a video I'd love to get into later on the channel, potentially moving up and then contending a year from today for that Eastern Conference when Houston owns your 2027 first round pick swap rights. So there's no point in sitting back and tanking next year when you know if you have the worst pick than Houston, it immediately goes to them unless you want to give up a boatload like you already did once in the Harden trade, like you did for the Igor Joman pick to try and get that one pick back. That's only if you are unfathomably bad, but I really think this franchise should be able to, at the going rate, to turn this around and get into a high quality position with the core they have now, which is why, look, I'm not in favor of giving up a ton at the deadline. I want to keep what they have intact. I think there is a very, very strong base to a winning franchise being built and a very, very strong culture in that locker room to a winning franchise being built. You're obviously a superstar away still. That doesn't change. But the base and the foundation are there. 2, 3 years down the line, we could be talking about the Nets in a top three seed in the East. And boy, coming into the season, I didn't really think that was going to be the case we had on our hands, but it just continues to look better each and every day. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Get questions, comments, thoughts, all of those over in the chat as we continue to move on with 46 of you guys tuned in live. A little bit of a schedule overview here. One more game before the New Year's break, which is very, very small. They play tomorrow night, the 29th, have the 30th and the 31st off, and then right back home against Houston to play, at home against Houston to play the Rockets. So this is the schedule breakdown, and it has just gotten ridiculously good. The calendar flips from November to December, and yet the opponents get worse, like Charlotte, Chicago, Utah, New Orleans, Dallas, Milwaukee. I'm not going to act like those are the best opponents in the world, but from where the Nets were November upwards, you win 2 games in the month of November, 2 down where they are in December. It has been an absurd turnaround. And then you're talking about Toronto, Philly, and Minnesota. Those are all 3 contending teams. So that narrative's got to be out the window about the Nets only crushing bad teams and just, they can stay in games against good teams, but they can't win anything. And that is sort of where this team is getting a little bit off the rails. Because if you cannot afford to continue to win the games at the rate they have in December, and I am aware that they probably cool off in the new year. If not, then you might have to think about changing things up at the deadline in order to just ensure yourself one of those high quality picks in a draft that, again, is so vital to this franchise. But here's a tweet I put out earlier today for my Twitter, guys. Check this out if you haven't done so yet. It's responding to a Nets World tweet that talked about the possibility of going all in on the season. And they've seen so much growth that why not just make that last push to get yourself over the hump and get yourself into the play-in. These are my reasons that I just feel like cannot go into this with a mindset of, yeah, okay, let's just go be a play-in team. We might get bounced, but we'll do it for the culture. So number one, again, you don't own your own 2027 first. So you basically have to cash in on a 3-level score this June in the draft, or else basically you're screwing your franchise over, right? Like Michael Porter Jr. probably is not that guy at 27. The back problems are there. Nets Twitter loves to let me know. And at this point, if you're not picking up a high level score in this year's draft, I don't know when you do, unless it is selling the future of your draft picks to go get a superstar. And Oklahoma City's kept their draft picks around through their rebuild and through their championship contention. And here they are. They're still refreshing, they're still restocking. It's why they're going to be a great dynasty for years to come. I think it's a good blueprint for the Nets to follow suit. And there's no reason that you can't go into free agency, though. Maybe add big man depth, especially if you get rid of Claxton, and then pick up holes for big man. I'm perfectly fine with that. I do think that's going to be very important. I don't know if I think Claxton's good. I don't know if he is a NBA Finals caliber prospect at this point in his young career. But again, do not mess up the positive timeline because let's be honest, even if you make it through the play in, you are getting bounced by the Knicks or Pistons. And I would say you're lucky to make it to 5 games if you don't get swept. I really don't think they have any chance at contention. If I thought they did, I wouldn't be sitting here and saying this. I don't root for my team to lose, whether it's here, whether it's the New York Jets, who stink and they're gunning for a big time draft pick. I just don't root for my team to lose. It's never a good omen on my part. I've just never been a fan of sitting down and being like, okay, how can the Nets lose tonight? Just not my type of thing. But you've already seen more than enough from the rookies to believe that a strong draft class can get you over the top. And again, it is a very bad Eastern Conference that you're contending in. So don't worry. This Nets team could be serious contenders a year from now, as I've said, as I will continue to say right here on the show. Make sure you hit this up, Twitter guys, if you haven't done so yet. Your support over the past month or so has meant so much to me. Keep getting questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. More importantly, liking and subscribing pushes our podcast out to even more viewers, even more Nets fans, and even more NBA fans. Let's get into some of your questions, comments, thoughts as we get rolling here on the show. Rep NY1 says W. Oh, yeah, baby. Jonathan comes in and says, Josh, we both agree long term sustainability matters more than short sighted gains, and given Cam can be moved, does it make more logical sense for him to win games when he's out soon? I think it still makes sense, again, to keep looking forward to the future, like you said, Jonathan, because it's really not about what the Nets ceiling could be this year. I frankly don't care about what their ceiling could be this year. I don't need to know what their ceiling could be this year. So just keep the goal in mind that it is all about a couple years down the line from now, and not right this instance for Brooklyn, which some people are going to say is what this team should plan around. This winning month of December could seriously make or break Brooklyn's 2026 lottery pick. So how important is January in this front office ironing out a plan to preserve that pick? Again, I do think it gets worse over time. I don't think this is a sustainable rate. NBA teams can get hot at any point. And look, I can pull up Tankathon right now if we really want to look at that. I'm not a huge fan of scouting lottery odds. The calendar hasn't even flipped yet. But when you look at it from this perspective, we'll look on Tankathon real quick. Tankathon.com, they are the best over there. Look, Brooklyn's still sitting at sixth in the lottery odds. They're 2 games out, or rather, 2 games out of a top 3 pick. Like, I mean, this is the situation we are talking about here. The Brooklyn Nets are 2 wins out of that top 3 pick. This is a very close race for these top couple of spots. And I don't think it's a situation where we can say, okay, so the Nets have gotten a little bit of a winning streak. They're up to 10 and 19. The tank's abandoned. Let's go. Play in, here we go. There's no need to come back. In fact, nothing's going to happen. But I just don't think that's the way you can approach things. You have to preserve your pick. I think the losing will come. Again, you have a bad second half here. You could be in line for the best odds at the number 1 pick. None of that stuff is out the window right now. So I would not worry about it. I think this is a conversation to be had in February, right before the deadline, in February post-deadline, and then even into March and that sort of pivotal stretch down at the end where I know you are playing a couple of beatable opponents. I think that's where it starts to come in, and that's where Brooklyn could think about putting up with load management and all that type of stuff. But to be honest, I've never been a fan of that, and I don't want to. All right, 91 of you guys in the building. Hell yeah, people. Keep it coming. Like, subscribe, get questions, comments, thoughts here in the building. We'll continue to react to what you guys got to say. A couple of you new guys in the house. Jason Spitzberg is in the building. How we doing? He says, "What's up, Nets World? Let's get that fourth straight win tomorrow against Golden State. Love the way this team is playing." If you're a Nets fan, I don't think there is a way you sit down on your couch and you're like, all right, the Nets are going to lose tonight, and I am rooting for it. This is one of those situations where you love this team. I think this team has grown so much. When you go from the 0-7 start to now 10-19, you've won 3 straight. You're the best defensive team in the month of December. The growth there has to excite you, and this coaching staff has to excite you, and the way the rookies have played has to excite you. There's no way that I'm worried about preserving the pick right now, still in December. Again, that is a February, March type of issue for me, and you're 2, 3 wins out of what, a top 4 seed. I have zero problem with where the Nets are out, and you're beating good opponents. So it's not like you're beating the crappy Wizards and whatever helps their odds. And that's not even a morale booster. Anybody could beat the Wizards, right? This is a situation where you have to love where your head is at if you're a Nets fan. You're beating some very good teams, and I love the way this team is playing as well. Ryan's Big Blue podcast is in the building. He says, "Josh, what's up? How we doing, Ryan?" That is a great Giants podcast. If you're on the market for that, a little bit of football talk. I know they just lost out on their odds at the number one pick. Speaking of Tankathon, I know a lot of NFL fans will be around there now and even through week 18, which is coming up. So that should be very exciting finish in the football race. Nets frequent in the building, one of the best Nets Twitter accounts in the world. He says, "For me, I think that trading MPJ has become more about getting the return you're getting for MPJ as opposed to dealing him off for nothing, just for the sake of tanking. If he can get a valuable first round pick plus expiring, I don't know what that means, entering this summer with 85 million in cap space, it may be worth it. Nets can absorb bad contracts and even deal more draft capital while also increasing the odds of getting a higher lottery pick." Again, odds at a lottery pick, not exactly what I'm worried about right now. But I do think that MPJ, even if you're looking at a return with multiple first round picks, I wouldn't worry about the salary cap. 85 million in salary cap. To be honest, I don't care about that. The Nets have enough salary cap to, if you want to go out there and get a very high quality player, you have the money to do so. Clearing salary cap means nothing. And I mean nothing to me at this point. Getting valuable, or rather expiring contracts and taking on picks, that's great. But again, how many more picks do the Brooklyn Nets need? To me, I feel like this team is 1, 2 great players away from this team being a championship contender. So do I need more 2031 picks? Probably not. Phoenix, New York have already stocked you up on their futures for through 2032. You have that very high value Denver pick coming up. You have some Suns picks. Did I mention that already? Like, just the Kevin Durant tree, what that has branched off into is so much. You can trade some of your 19 second round picks to get another first round pick. You can trade some late firsts to get right back into the lottery of a very stacked draft. This Nets team continues to worry about picking up, or rather, Nets Twitter and Nets World continues to worry about picking up late firsts and seconds. That's not where my headspace is at. I don't think I want to trade Michael Porter Jr. He's an established talent. He's consistently hitting 25 plus points a night on good efficiency as well. And the team is playing at a very high level for, again, what you thought earlier in the season to what they've transitioned to at this point in the season has been so impressive that why would I break it up if I think they're one piece away? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't need the value. I don't need the expiring picks. I don't need more cap space. I don't think Michael Porter Jr., unless you're getting a Mikal Bridges or more level package, you're getting 6 first round picks. I am certainly talking if I'm Sean Marks. Anything less than that, 2, even 3, dare I say, first round picks does not move the needle for me if I'm playing the role of Sean Marks in this situation. MPJ is here for the long run. To be honest, I don't care about his injury past. I'm going off what he's shown me as a net, and that has been the highest level of basketball in his career. You see what the guy can do with an expanded role. I just want to continue for him to build off that. And even if that means you're sacrificing what could be a better future down the line, I'm taking the bird in the hand. The Nets have so many picks, so many opportunities in the future to get right via the draft. Keep a solidified product that you already know who Michael Porter Jr. is. So a lot of these late first round picks, you're lucky if they ever get to be a quarter of what Michael Porter Jr. is today. So I think that is something to keep in mind. Jonathan once more says Zaire Williams might be on the move after being benched, and he's given only $6 million, or rather making only $6 million. Nets might be able to get something for him given he can defend. Absolutely. I don't know what it is with Jordy Fernandez. He used to love Zaire Williams last year. I'm guessing it was something off the court. I don't think the effort has been 100% on the court this season, but he benched him in this game. He really hasn't seen much of the court. His shooting hasn't been as good as it was last year. I really, really don't know what it's been with Zaire Williams, you're right. But he could be a valuable piece in a rotation. Again, another guy that knows his role, knows he is not in there to jack 3-point shots. He plays good defense, hustles, dives for loose balls, and gets off the court. He's fine with playing minimal minutes. I think that is a very, very valuable piece on a good team. So Zaire Williams, I agree, could certainly be on the move, especially with his minimalistic role in these days modern Brooklyn Nets. I'm just really, really not sure. Like, what happened? I think it had to be something off the court, either with Zaire or his relationship with Jordy. He's not getting many minutes. You're absolutely right, Jonathan. And since those are continuing to decline, I wonder really because you saw his role last year, and that was as a very, very respected person in the locker room, and his minutes distribution showed that for this team. I don't know where his head is at. I don't know where the Nets are with him. But look, if he's not playing on Brooklyn and he could be somewhere else, yeah, you probably do end up trading him or at least get him in some talks because there's absolutely no point in not doing that, right? Like it'll just help both parties. Hit like and hit subscribe, get questions, comments, thoughts in the building here. Great turnout. Sunday, December 28th is your date. At this point, I'm going as long as chat takes me. So if you guys have more questions, hammer those home in the bottom of the building. Saint is in the building. He comes in and says MPJ only makes sense if you're going for it next season or the next, as the current state of the Nets. No one should be off the table to trade, including MPJ. I agree, right? Like, if I'm Sean Marks, I'm taking phone calls for everybody. But again, I'm looking at a Mikal Bridges level 5 first round picks package in order to ship off MPJ. I get the injury history is not where you want it to be. And I get that, this is the one season. So could it be a regression? Is this just a one hit wonder type of season for Michael Porter Jr.? But the Nets have such a strong foundation with what some analysts call, and I think I would agree, a bottom 5 on paper roster in all of the NBA. Some are saying worse, some are saying the bottom of the league in terms of roster on paper, and they have turned it into a 500 record, better than that so far this season. So, or rather, no, that would be 10 and 10. I don't know what I'm talking about. My mistake. That they're not 500. They're 10 and 19. But still, it has been a very, very positive trend for Brooklyn. Even if you're talking about, look, the record's not going to catch up to where you are, but the development of the rookies has been there. I think the coaching staff has played a pivotal role in how this season has gone on. I agree. I don't think you're hanging up immediately if someone says, I'm calling about Michael Porter Jr. I don't think Sean Marks is like, no, off the table. But I don't think he's easily giving him for two firsts and a salary dump. That's just not what I think would happen. And even if it is, I would not like the trade. Because again, how many more first round picks do you need before this team dives headfirst into it? I think a very, very good player in the 2026 draft that is filled with Petersons, with DeBanstas, with Boozers. And even from there, it gets deeper as the class goes on. This isn't just, the big three and then a huge steep fall off. This is a situation where you could be sitting 6 and still get a very, very high caliber guy that can really, really score the basketball. And remember, the Nets have the assets to go forward and trade up in this draft. And it really depends on where they land, obviously. That's a conversation that we'll have come beginning of June, come the offseason, where we actually know what the lottery has played out to be come April. But for now, I really think that this Nets team is still set up with the assets to move forward if they wanted to get into a higher draft pick, to even they just have a multitude of options, and I think that's where you want to be with the cards in your hand, with the ball in your court. You get to choose how you return serve. Let's keep it coming here with the chats. Jonathan, right back at it. If the Clippers are offering Bogdanovich, Collins, and a 2032 first, consider it Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, 2031, and 2032 swap, or Holland and two firsts, that would be solid. I'm assuming you're talking about for MPJ. Let's continue to go here. Here's Kai, the goalie, coming in saying, "Hey man, just wanted to stop by and say what's up. Also, go Magic. That's my team. Appreciate you stopping by, Kai. Much appreciated. Continue to keep it rolling here. 160 you guys in the building. So great to see as we continue to grow the channel. Hit up the YouTube if you haven't done so yet. If you're on Twitter, cross platforms, go to YouTube real quick, hit like, hit subscribe. That helps us the most, but obviously all your support is so very greatly appreciated. I'll take a couple more here before we go. Jonathan pops in, says, Josh, I admire the strategy, but realistically, MPJ's value is expiring salary. Maybe a young player in 1 to 2 first. That's fair value for a guy who has comprised a compromised back, rather, but I understand your point. I think that's where his value is at, and if that's where it is, then I'm not dealing him. That's fine. His value, he can be an undervalued player. I would just not deal him for that price. I think there's a chance that Brooklyn does. Sean Marks gets desperate, but remember, I think old Nets fans have Sean Marks. I mean, maybe it's a little bit better because he had, I'll give him credit, a very, very good 2025 for a draft, excuse me, with the Flatbush 5 already looking great so far, a couple months into their rookie seasons. But Sean Marks still is on a pretty short leash. Do I think he wants to re-extend this rebuild when he is given a chance to hit the fast lane to expedite it? One first and a young player and a salary? No, thank you. For me, for Sean Marks, I think Sean Marks is looking to get a generational guy in this draft, whether that means trading assets that he might not be here to draft to try and save his position. That is certainly something that we could be in line for. I don't know where the Cy family sits on Sean Marks. I don't even know if they know that he should be fired at this point. I don't know what's happening, but I think Sean Marks is, regardless, on a very, very short leash. So if he continues to push the rebuild into, whatever these next firsts are coming out, and you have a very, very high caliber pick in the 26th draft, I think Sean Marks takes it. I think he tries to build in free agency with the most cap money in the entire NBA. And from there, he says, go out there and hoop and try to save my job. Because as Saint points out too, if Jordy Fernandez isn't looking like a amazing head coach that has his team playing way above their pay grade, Sean Marks might probably be out of here right now. So props to Jordy, props to this coaching staff for very, very strong development of the rookies, for getting MPJ to the level he's at. But you're right, Saint, there is a good chance that without Jordy in the building, without a very strong coaching staff, Sean Marks could be out the window. A couple more here before we say sayonara. 2026 to me will be a tougher draft to move up. Last draft was the one to make that happen. Yeah, I think that's very well a possibility. But here's what I'll say. I will say that in 2025, going in, you traded McHale, you completely tore it down. So you were going to draft, and I think the Nets knew going in, they wanted quantity over quality. I'm sure they could have moved up given those two number 26 and number 27 picks that turned out to be Wolf and Saraf away to move from what? From 8 to 5-ish to get a Trey Johnson, to get one of these guys, maybe even to trade up all the way to go get a Con Knipple at 4. But I think the Nets actually wanted to go quantity there, wanted to see what those rookies would look like. They've obviously turned out well above what I think almost all Nets fans expected at this point. So now in 2026 is your chance to make a big splash, whether it's there, whether it's a superstar via trade, whether it's free agency. I think the Nets are much more willing to make a big splash sort of deal this upcoming offseason than they were last offseason because you're right. Last offseason's draft was the opportunity to move up, to jump ahead of the line because there were a lot of teams that were feeling flexible at that point. But now, the problem is though the Nets really didn't know where they stood, right? Like you really didn't know can Apple, can maybe even Ace Bailey turn this franchise into what they are today? Probably not. So the Nets, while the rest of the NBA might have been more flexible, the Nets probably weren't looking to do that. They just wanted to get quantity in the door. And then at this point, this offseason is really where they go out there and make that big splash. But I think you're right. I mean, there were a lot of teams looking to move around in last year's draft, and we saw it, whether it was, Edgecombe hopping in front of Ace Bailey, and there was certainly bad blood between a couple franchises and Bailey with all those pre-draft workouts. And that could have certainly slid up there, but I think they just wanted to grab 5 rookies and play it out from there. Let's go. Jonathan says, lit show. Amen, brother. That's how we're always feeling right here on the channel. And Zane says, good job, by the way. I love energy and knowledge. The torch is being passed to the new generation. Thank you so much, my friend. It all means the world to me. All right. That is where we put a bookmark in it. 43 minutes of Legendary Nets talk with you guys. Sunday, December 28th is the date. Nets play tomorrow at home against Golden State. The tickets are like $200 to get in the door just to watch what potentially be one of Steph Curry's last games at the Barclays Center. It's ridiculous. Have a great time if you're going, though. If not, we will probably do one more episode before the new year. Can't guarantee that, but I'll try to. We'll make sure we'll get reactions in. Get to the Instagram if you haven't done so yet. Get to the Twitter if you haven't done so yet for live reactions and updates throughout each and every game, pre, halftime, and post game coverage. All right, that'll do it for me. I'm Josh Woolever for the Brooklyn Boys Show. Signing off saying, have a great night, everybody. Stay safe. And as always, let's go Nets. Good night, everybody. Peace out.